Going to go through a brief presentation on messaging, why messaging matters, and some of the messaging concepts. And then I'm going to show you my master messaging framework. And
I
then
love and very interested and intrigued by this idea of not just pitting messaging and branding against each other, but in effect, branding the messaging. That's a very cool idea. And I want to look into that more. And I'd love to learn more about that.
Hey, everyone. Welcome into today's session, an interview with Dr. Bruce Fleck from Buyer's Brief to Brand and Messaging Blueprints with AI. As you know, going through the contents of the Buyer's Brief book, generating a lot of content. And so, how do you take that content and turn it into branded messaging and the frameworks for that to take and make the most out of your brief and the time you're investing into creating that brief and taking it to the next step? And Bruce has been with us since for a year and a half, 2 years now. For quite some time in the community, has been a great teacher and educator and helping lift others up inside of the community. And agreed when I asked him if he had anything that he thought would be really helpful to share. He brought up the branded messaging, and I said, "That sounds great, Bruce. Thank you for taking the time to put this together and the resources that you've got available." Just so you guys know, we're going to be demonstrating resources on this call. Those will be available inside of the Buyer's Brief book section as resources. Won't have them ready for you today, but those will be available for you there as soon after this recording is complete. So Bruce, welcome in. Excited for today's call.
thank you, Darby.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say thank you to you and the rest of the community, but especially you, because while I've been a techie for a long time in my life, when this AI stuff first came around, I first heard about Jasper. Yeah, it was a little new for me. And so I remember telling you specifically that I had Command J um, uh, jitters, so to speak. It was like I was afraid to hit the Command J to start Jasper writing for me. But you and Kelly really helped me get through that, and then I've just taken off from there, and it's just been a great relationship. So I appreciate everything that you do and have done for this community, and we all support each other and lift each other up with some great learning here. So thank you very much.
You bet. And thank you as well, Bruce, and everyone else here that's with us live. Thank you guys for being here on us today. This is going to be some part, like you said, presentation. I'll let Bruce kind of take it from here. But as you guys we're kicking things off, say hi inside of the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you have any questions throughout the demonstration today, just drop them in the chat and we'll make sure that we can get to any of these questions as we can inside of the hour we've got.
Great, Darby. Go ahead and allow me to share screen.
Got
And
it.
so what we're going to do is we're going to go through a brief presentation on messaging, why messaging matters, and some of the messaging concepts. And then I'm going to show you my master messaging framework, and then we're going to go through some examples. So let's talk a little bit about messaging and branding for entrepreneurs. By the way, I'm using Beautiful.ai. I've tried Gamma. I've tried Tome. I'm really starting to like Beautiful.ai. It's really, it allows you to make very pretty slides and gives you enough flexibility to do some nice things. And you can put in themes and all that kind of stuff. So really good system. I like it so far. Okay, so why do we need messaging branding? If your words don't resonate and motivate, prospects won't buy. Seem pretty simple, right? But we use words to paint pictures, to evoke emotions, to create connection, to establish our authority, to change our prospects' belief, and hopefully, in the end, to motivate them into action. So that's why we need to work about messaging. And I'm going to make a big distinction between messaging and branding. I care a lot more about messaging than I do about branding, especially when we're talking about entrepreneurs and coaches and consultants, where you are the face of your business. If you're a big business that has a brand that is not a face, then you need to spend more time on things like branding. Think of Coke, think of McDonald's, think of Apple, something like that. But for messaging, if you think of a Michael Hyatt or Tony Robbins or Mel Robbins or any of those people, it's more about messaging than branding because their personality becomes their branding. So we're just going to differentiate slightly between messaging and branding. The goal of your messaging is very simple. It's to help get people to remember you and your solution so that when they think of their problem, they think of you. So while words matter, your personality identity of what you stand for, you believe are a source of differentiation just among other people. Even if you're doing the same kind of thing, just your personality and your identity can be a source of differentiation. And if you're the face of the company, then you are the brand. So if your personality identity is automatically a source of differentiation, then why do we need to focus on messaging? Well, if the message isn't clear, then people don't buy. So here are some golden rules of messaging. And I love this quote from Maya Angelou. Now it's more about, it was originally intended more about personal relationships and speaking and stuff, but I love it when it comes to messaging because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a relationship with our prospects. So she says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So how does your messaging, the words you use, the things you say on your videos, etc., how does it make them feel? Right now we're in business, and so we're all, left-brained about this stuff and, prospects and profitability and all that kind of stuff. But we need to remember that these are people on the other end, and that we need to consider how they feel, or how we want to make them feel. So first rule, clear over clever, right? Using clear and simple language is more effective than being clever. Now, clever is fun, and we can add some cleverness once we are clear, but our goal is first to get very clear on what we are talking about, what problem we solve, what our methodology is, and what our solution is. Unique is memorable. Okay, so your messaging should be distinctive to stand out and be remembered. And then brevity is best. I was listening to something John Benson said in a call, one of his Benson calls a little while ago. And he said after he writes his best first draft, he thinks he's got it ready, then he cuts 30%. And, this is John Benson, of course, is a masterful copywriter, and he thinks he's got it best, and then he still cuts an additional 30%, which makes it better. All right. So important rules there for messaging. I'm going to give you 5 branding concepts very quickly that you will want to understand. First is every purchase is a transformation. We think of it as a transaction, but it's not. It's a transformation. You're helping someone go from where they are to where they want to be. Even if it's buying, a burger at your local place. The transformation is I'm hungry, and the solution is the burger, and then how I feel afterwards is the transformation. All right. So certainly in any kind of services, it's the same thing. You need to think about it in terms of the hero's journey. What is the problem or the unmet need that they have, the desire that's not yet fulfilled? What does the transformation look like? You have a clear problem, a transformative idea, and a valuable solution, because that's what the transformation looks like. And then we're going to turn that into branded messages. And I love what I learned from John Benson here. He actually, talked about the idea of a branded problem. I knew of branded products and branded solutions, but he actually makes special effort to come up with language to brand the problem, to brand the big idea, and to brand the solution. And then we add a branded product name. So if you have those kind of things, then you're controlling the language with which you are speaking about the problem, and people will remember that. Now, one of the biggest problems I see of coaches and consultants and entrepreneurs is talking about problems in a general or generic way. And we all know that when we're working with ChatGPT or any of the LLMs, if you give a generic prompts, you're going to get generic answers, generic outputs. And, they don't resonate. They're not useful. So I want to tell you about 3 levels of specificity. And I learned this from Eleanor Strong. And you first have the problem, and you're describing that in kind of general terms, but how does it show up as symptoms in the person's or business's life or world, right? How does it show up as a symptom? How does it manifest every day? And then what are specific scenarios? Think of it like you're looking through a camera, a video camera, and you're recording scenes, all right? And when you can get down to this kind of level, even if the prospect isn't exactly in that scene, they will understand it better by being able to visualize what that scene is like and see if it's similar to them. It goes back to the same thing as what they teach in writing school is show, don't tell. So when we can talk about in language that shows what it's like, then people are going to be able to visualize that in their mind and resonate with it. So be specific about your avatar struggles and make your messaging relatable and memorable. Okay, just a couple more here. Branding concept number 3. How do you connect at a deep level that resonates? Well, when you talk about the problem and or the solution, you need to do it at 3 different levels. Okay? The first is external, what they're seeing in their life. Second is internal, what they're feeling about the problem and or the solution. And lastly, and this one is often missed, it's identity. So how does the problem not only look and feel, but how does it affect how they view themselves? Okay, by being overweight, do I feel like a failure, or that I feel less than or unattractive or whatever? And if I get the solution of, getting in shape, how does that change my identity? When you can talk in terms of identity, it really connects with people. Concept number 4, how to get them to buy. Well, we're building a relationship here, and it's got to start and move naturally through the course of a relationship, and it's a buying relationship. But we first have to connect, demonstrate that you understand their problems, show some empathy that connects at a human level, show some authority that establishes you as someone who can solve their problem, and lastly, you're going to make an offer. And usually, what Alex Hormozy and many of the others teach is that you want to make sure that your offer that's 10 times more valuable than what the price is that you're charging. And when you can do that, then the offer becomes irresistible. So here's a concept number 5, and I got this from Aaron Fletcher, and he talks about a core currency. That's what you're either increasing or decreasing, and you need to talk about it and how it's measured. So we talk about losing weight or increasing profits and things, but you need to include it in that. It needs to be how it's measured and give a specific result that you're going to achieve. Now, it's interesting that for most consumers, it's something they want to decrease, a problem or a pain they want to get rid of. And for businesses, it may often be something they want to increase. This is not 100%, but you'll find that in general, it follows this kind of this pattern. But one thing for sure is you can't sell the solution for more than the perceived change of currency. All right. So if you're going to increase somebody's profits, 10K a year, you can't charge, 20K to do that. All right. People aren't going to want to do that. Yeah, you could think you could make it back in 2 years, but most people wouldn't want to do that. Now, if you can increase their profits 100K and you can a year and you can do that for 10K, now you've got something that they're interested in. So if you're having trouble charging enough for your solution, then do one of these 3 things. Either solve a bigger problem, solve it faster than other people can, and do it with less friction, right? So Aaron loves to use this $1 million messaging format. I help such struggling avatar achieve something kind of their currency, their increase or decrease in currency within a time frame, so that they can have this big benefit without pain or friction. Right. So if you can boil down your messaging to something that clear, you've got something that people will pay attention to, and this can lead straight into an offer. So what I love about this is it takes a lot of stuff and boils it down to the real essentials that people care about. Lastly, here's some messaging tips when you start to write your language. These are things you can use. It's not imperative. They're just nice little tips to make things a little more memorable. You can use alliteration, you can use rhyming, you can use acronyms. Always when possible, like writing bullet points and stuff, start with action verbs, use visual words, paint pictures like we talked about. And then John Benson's really good at this. He puts unexpected word pairs together. So when you put two words together that describe the big idea or the branded problem, but you wouldn't normally see those together in a sentence, then it becomes memorable. But somehow he's made sense out of that whole thing. So that's the last tip there. Now, this is really kind of muddy, so I'm going to pull up a different version that's a little cleaner. This is kind of the master messaging framework that I like to think about. This is how I've got it kind of built in my head. You've got an avatar who has a problem and wants a result. And we describe this as the big problem. And in order to help with that big problem, then you have some kind of method or modality or process or product or service, and that's going to provide a big transformation. And that transformation will be an increase in good or decrease of bad, some kind of currency, and there's going to be some kind of cost involved in implementing that. How much time is required, how much effort is required, and money is required. So what we want to do is turn that to make it memorable, turn it into something that is a branded problem with a big idea. Now, what can set you apart really quickly is that your big idea is something that shifts their beliefs. It's a new way of looking at the problem that says, aha, this person knows what they're talking about, and they probably have a solution that will work for me that I haven't tried in the past. So that's where Darby's false beliefs and false solutions comes in from the buyer's blueprint. You're going to want to take those and then turn that into a big idea with a branded solution. All right. And as we think about the three different versions of your avatars, we talked about the problem, but now there's the symptom and a scenario. And again, as we talked about before, 3 levels of connecting with them: the external situation, the feeling, and the being. And you do that for each of your avatars, both on the problem side and on the transformation side or the solution side. And then the resistance to buying is questions, obstacles, myths and false solutions. This is all stuff that's in the buyer's brief, and then how you overcome those objections, addressing concerns with your solution. So if you think about this gives you all the elements that you need to really start writing some very powerful messaging. So I'm going to get rid of that. And let's talk about Darby's buyer's brief, right? I love this. This is an encyclopedia about my client. Now, good and bad thing about an encyclopedia is it's massive. It has everything I need, but it is a bit massive. So the first thing I did when Darby sent this to me is I went through and I made these, heading 1 or heading 2, so that I would have this navigation over here to be able to find it. So if you get the massive document from him, please make sure you do that so that you can navigate your way around. And what you're going to think about this is not try to use it all at one time, to use everything out of it, but to pull out the pieces you need to accomplish what you need to do. Now, of course, it's great to read through the whole thing and get a good feel for your avatar and the various different avatars, and really understand it at a core level inside you. But when it comes to working with it on a daily basis, I believe you need to pick out the pieces you need to, and then constantly go back and forth and refer to this. And Kelly Tenney mentioned this last week. She was looking for some new ideas for content, so she just came back to the buyer's brief and pulled out something new that she was working on. You could work on negative feelings one time, and you can work on promises another time, or mistaken beliefs another time. So this is an absolute brilliant document. Just can't use it all at once, but use it as your reference point for everything else that you do. So What I love to do is to take that stuff and turn it into something that is, useful, like a web page, a landing page, or something like that. So one of the things that I do, and I followed, this is based on kind of Darby's auto scripting approach, but I build these worksheets, and I've done this for, various coaching programs and stuff that I do. So I lay out what I'm trying to accomplish in this piece. That's not the one I want. I want to look at. No, this will be fine. So I want to try and build these kind of branded messages. We talked about them in the framework, the branded macro problem, big idea, macro solution. And then as we think about a lead magnet or an entry level point, I call that a micro problem, micro big idea, micro solution. But this can give you, I think the buyer's brief has color palette stuff in there too, as well as logo. You wouldn't need to use that here, but some of the people I'm teaching don't have access to the buyer's brief, so this is what that's why I've got it included in this one. So I build these things so that it asks you a series of questions. I give it a prompt, and then you have to give it input. And if you don't know the answer, then just say suggest. All right. So in this case, I'm building um, let's go back to the beginning. The goal of the session is to create branded messages that will be used as a sales copy for a landing page, for an online event, or a lead magnet. There are 5 sections that need completing, and in each section, you will ask me a series of questions that I will answer. If I don't know the answer, I will ask with suggest. You will collect my answers, think step by step, summarize the answers into paragraph format, evaluate the pros and cons of the answers, and offer any suggestions for improvement. Please confirm that you understand. So I just copy and paste this in. This is the pre-training, and then we start working down through. All right. And so here's a case where we've are asking about building the basics of a landing page for a paid workshop. And then we go through and we start working on the big problem, the macro problem, putting in some false beliefs that we would copy from the buyer's brief, all that kind of stuff. And then we get into the branded micro messages. And here's what I'm going to show you down here. Here's an example. So if we take a midlife career coach, and I put in, here's the basic information. I'm doing a workshop. I'd done some previous work in calling it Second Act Success. Here's the audience. Here's the problem, base price workshop, 3 hours. That's an old date, but you get the point. And so it evaluates it, gives me a description, evaluates it. And then we came up with some branded messages. All right. For the big problem, we're calling it a professional plateau. Used a little bit of alliteration there, but I think after describing that a bit, people will understand. Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm at a professional plateau, and that's language that they will remember that I said. And what the big idea is they need to do a strategic career reimagining. Probably people haven't thought about, they hear career planning a lot, but not really the word reimagining. So putting strategic in front of it and adding the word reimagining kind of makes a new big idea of how to bridge the gap. Yeah, that's what I need. That's what I haven't been doing in the past. I've been trying to do some career planning, but I've never done strategic career reimagining. And then the big answer to this is a visionary career transformation. So thinking about my career as being visionary and really imagining my career and how can I transform it. Gives me a little story, and then we start working on some branded micro messages. All right. So we started with kind of just a generic description of those micro messages. But in order for them to come to the workshop, I want to use the language that they're facing professional growth paralysis. Kind of again, a new way of thinking about it. And what we're going to do in this workshop is we're going to look at strengths and value-based vision. We're going to help use their strengths and look at their values to build a new vision, and they'll end up with a visionary career blueprint. Now, do you see how these are memorable words or phrases that really get to the point, and that the micro version for the workshop really aligns with my bigger program, from the macro branded messages of how I'm going to have them in a 6-month coaching program. All right. So that's the kind of stuff we want to be able to get to. All right. Now, let me see here. Now, this is what I would do if I wanted to plan the workshop, clarifying the niche, helping them describe their big problem, what the big transformation is, the methodology, pulling in some of the false beliefs from the buyer's blueprint, turning that into a workshop topic. What are the workshop results look like, and what is a workshop plan? And again, going back to the career planning, mid-career planning, it describes the big problem, the big transformation, the methodology, the false beliefs. Here's a workshop topic, workshop results, and then I summarize it all into a big workshop plan, right? So this is what that workshop would look like. Second act success, visioning and planning for mid-career professionals. Here's the steps we would go through in the workshop, experiential activities, and follow-up resources. So, with this, going through this little worksheet, I have gotten a full workshop almost completely planned, based on all the messaging, and I've got the branding messages from that other worksheet, right? So, with the blueprint and these 2 worksheets, I now have some branded messages that I can put on a landing page, and I've got a fully planned workshop that I can charge people money for and get them into, and then turn them into clients on the back end. And then I've got a landing page copy builder, right? So taking all that other stuff and turning it into a landing page. And let's see if I got a summary there. Nope, I don't. So I'm going to show you what that might look like. Okay, so here's a landing page for one of the businesses I'm working on, and it's for an assessment. All right, and I'm just going to show you the page real fast. Here's what it looks like. And so each of these sections are very well defined. The hero section, the benefits section, why work with us, some social proof, some FAQs, and a final call to action. Okay, that's all you need for a landing page. And okay, here's what I've gone through. So the branded messages for my group are AI hesitation due to confusion, concern, and lack of understanding, some false beliefs. Big branded truth is begin learning and implementing AI now or be left behind. The big solution that we're offering, the big product, AI business integration program, and then the micro stuff going on. These are the micro branded messages, right? And these then fall into the landing page. Here's the pre-headline, the headline, the sub-headline, the CTA, some mini proof, a benefits section, again, all that stuff right there, an authority section, an FAQ section, right? I even took this further and took it into a thank you page where we have a video, and then try to take them to the next step in booking a strategy session, right? And then next step beyond that is building out an email nurture sequence. And all of this stuff just flows from the inputs you get from your buyer's brief, and then working through a process of building out some branded messages and making sure you know what you're selling, both at the big level, your ultimate product, and then your lead magnet or entry level product. So here's another example of that landing page. And each section is very well defined. you getting their attention, who identify with who this is for, what's your promise, describing it, call to action, mini privacy, and a little bit of authority right there, because this is a workshop. We have a date and time on that. Your benefits, why work with us, and some FAQs and a final call to action. All right. Now, this is a landing page, but you can do this same kind of process. There we go. And turn it into a whole sales page. So I've done the same thing for a whole sales page. And that's a different worksheet for a different time, but each section is well defined. You start with a problem, you share some other scary facts, you offer your solution, you give your description of your program, you give some authority of why work with us. You say, how do you get started? Make it 1, 2, 3, easy, simple steps. This is a combination of Donald Miller's story brand and Wes McDowell's web page layout. You talk about your offer, right? You give your risk reduction here. Make it easy, pick your plan. Again, reinforce the benefits, give some social proof. This is one of the things I love also is doing this myth and truth thing. This really establishes authority for you. Darby talks about the false beliefs all the time and false solutions. Grab 3 of those that are the most important thing and use them to establish your authority so that you provide the truth and people will think of you as the authority in this space. And some frequently asked questions, always doing what's at stake. If you don't do this, here's what the cost is going to be. If you do this, here's what you'll get out of it, reinforcing the offer. And so, yeah, you can see how you've taken this all to an extreme level just by starting with the buyer's blueprint and building out some branded messages and then having a clear blueprint of your landing page and or your sales page. So that's what I've got there. Have I kind of fed you with a fire hose?
Indeed, Bruce. Thank you so much. But I think a useful fire hose for demonstrating what to do next once you've got the ingredients for a marketing campaign with your buyer's brief. Something that stands out here that I think is just in general for anyone that's going through and maybe you're just getting started with AI is like how important it is. Maybe if you want to touch a little bit on this, Bruce, frameworks specifically, because if you just take the blueprint and then go into ChatGPT and say, write me a sales page in XXX, like everything you want, it's not going to follow the same guidelines that you're instructing with it. And so, AI excels at following frameworks and using the formula that you can provide with it, which is why the buyer's blueprint is the foundation of John Benson's now Benson copywriting software. And for any sales page or video script or otherwise, you want to make sure that you're talking to the right person and your messaging is on point. First, that you're speaking to the right problems and the same symptoms that they're experiencing, but you've taken this now and you have built out your own frameworks and ways that you are applying it within like the different things that you're creating in your business. And so maybe can you talk to me a little bit about Bruce and those on the call said, this is so good. Great job, Bruce. Fantastic. Seems like a lot of great feedback so far with this. Just share a little bit more, Bruce, about the process about using frameworks within your process, because what you just showed here is one example of many different ways to approach this. And so can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. Steal like an artist. Right. We've heard that phrase before. And I am just a constant student of messaging and a little bit of the branding side. So, I've mentioned, John Benson, of course, but Donald Miller from Story Brand. Wes McDowell is a young YouTuber who's been a long time website builder consultant and has taken lots of data and proven what are the most effective sections of each web page or landing page. People like Eleanor Strong who do nothing but write 1,000-word posts on Facebook, and she gets all of her high-ticket business just by writing 500 to 1,000-word posts that are really, really clear. I have just been really determined and persistent in learning messaging from a whole lot of different people. There's, 5 or 6 other people that I've purchased courses on and learned their stuff as well too that I haven't even mentioned, so that it's come together from my own framework. If you don't want to be, a messaging expert or a messaging guru, and don't have the interest or time like I do to pursue that, take something very simple. Take, Donald Miller's Story Brand. He's got a new book out called Coach Builder. In that, he's got an example of 27, a free PDF of 27 different websites that he believes are really good. And he's got a very defined list of how the sections ought to go for a basic website. If you want to go deeper, Wes McDowell's program and or his YouTube videos follow pretty much the story brand method. So Wes goes just kind of one level deeper, I would say. Donald Miller keeps his a little broader because he's got a very broad audience, but Wes McDowell goes one level deeper and say, do this section, and in this section put these words here, and so look at a framework. You got to find a framework of some kind. And if you don't know, what the framework is, ask a friend, phone a friend, ask in the community, because between us all, we know a lot of frameworks, and then take that framework and just build your prompts around that.
Yes, that's ultimately the best, I believe, use case of, let's say, the buyer's brief in the first place is just making sure your context is on point so that any framework that you apply it to is going to produce better outputs for you, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you have really bad context, you go to start using AI tools, you're going to not get the results that you're looking for. And so we start with the focus on the buyer and the person we're speaking to and everything that goes into that blueprint and then the plan around it. But then you can take that, and those are really essentially ingredients. At the end of the day, like you're a chef in the kitchen, right? Like you've got access to an entire like plethora of ingredients that are what make up a specific market or a segment inside of your niche. And it's up to you as the chef in the kitchen to put those ingredients together, to play around with different messaging and different frameworks and to see what works and what doesn't. You might find that your audience prefers a different flavor to how they like to be spoken to than maybe another, or different segments of your market have different messaging that lands with them differently. But number one thing to take away is if you don't go out and test it and get that actual real world feedback with it, you can end up in kind of an echo chamber of lots of content. Cool, I've got a brief, and maybe it's fun to read through and that. But if you're not putting it into action and going and getting data back to validate the pain points that you're speaking to, the metrics on your landing page or a campaign, if it's actually like resonating, or if you're just hearing crickets, then you're not going to get that feedback loop to be able to make iterations on your brief and then update the frameworks and the messaging that you're creating. So it's very much a cycle as you go through this. And inside of your marketing campaign, you always start with the buyer first, and then where does that go next? In this case, Bruce, the messaging and the branded frameworks, and a great follow-up for this that all of us can apply here directly to how we are going about creating content in our marketing and our messaging. But also just encouraging to go and find your own frameworks, explore with different things from authors, from thought leaders, from courses and programs that you've been a part of. And like you said, steal like an artist, figure out what maybe makes the most sense for you to work on utilizing and implementing in your business, and using the buyer's brief to just make sure that you're talking to the right people in this case, and then take the next steps from there. Any parting thoughts with us, Bruce? I want to see if we have any questions here or otherwise, but overall, great job, Bruce. Fantastic, Bruce. This is so good. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the content here today. We'll love to see if Bruce is open to coming back and doing some more presentations inside of the community, as well as any of you guys here who have a specific process or workflow that you are using in your business. How does if you're open and willing to share with others as well, and again, rising tide of, lifting all the ships, as they say. Want to make sure that we are highlighting those of us in the community that are out, pushing the limits of what's going on with AI. And Tyree says, would love to see some more presentations by Bruce.
Thank you,
Ron says,
Tyrese.
really interesting. Love the slides and the website layout. Looks great. Yeah, and anything else coming up, Bruce, while we have a few minutes here left?
I really love what you said about making the buyer's blueprint a living document as you get feedback from real people. So, one of the lessons of entrepreneurship is test and iterate, test and iterate, test and iterate, and you got to get real feedback from real humans. And so, yeah, that'll be one of the things we need to learn to do next. Right now, we're all just kind of getting started using the blueprint, but we need to figure out how to make that a living document and make it updatable, easily updatable. And don't accept it as one and done either. Yeah, that was one of the lessons I learned from you. Just because AI gives you one output doesn't mean, try it again. Ask for better. My partner Glenn said, what you've given me is a 5. Now turn it into a 10. He'll tell Chat GPT to do that, and ask Chat GPT to, critically evaluate itself and up its response. So I think those are some really important points there to remember.
Absolutely. And Charles, I see you got your hand if you want to come off mute.
Yeah, great presentation. I love it, and this sounds arrogant, I know. I love it when I can go on a presentation and learn something that I didn't already know about the turf that I'm in. When we become specialists in, let's say, marketing, copywriting, things like that, eventually you've kind of heard everything. Today, I heard a few things that were just like, oh, that's pretty cool there. So I appreciate the tip on the presentation software. I'm going to look into that. I love and very interested and intrigued by this idea of not just pitting messaging and branding against each other, but in effect, branding the messaging. That's a very cool idea. And I want to look into that more. And I'd love to learn more about that. And then I had a client yesterday I was just as initiating an initial consult with, and basically hadn't even presented her the full buyer's blueprint, but just a portion of it. And just from that, she says, like, this is overwhelming. And so the fact that we have to take frameworks and take this body of data and information and make it, simplify it for our clients is challenging. I love the workflow that you did, the visual workflow. I think that's a very compelling way to present some of this, on the front end, and plan to use some of those ideas as well. And I have a ton of questions that I would love to follow up with you at some point about, how you're doing some things. But I like the fact that you're, into Donald Miller, and you're kind of combining different ones. And I think we all will find those that resonate with how we like to do business and kind of put it in our own mold, so to speak. And I don't really know what, I guess, is a question, what Darby's intention is in terms of him being able to keep his rights to the proprietary part of this, whole thing, in terms of us being able to artistically steal some aspects of it and put it into our own way to use it, and make sure we're all happily comfortable with how we're doing this. So that's kind of an open question there.
Well, Charles, thanks. And I look forward to learning some more about messaging and branding from you and copywriting from you as well too, as we get a chance to talk more. So yeah, I still come at all of this with great curiosity and an open mind to learn anything, because I think it's something you can never master too much. So yeah, I appreciate that. And I will, put one or two of these worksheets. I want to clean them up just a little bit to make sure that they are, I designed them for my use and my students' use, but I want to make sure that they're more designed for a general use without losing any of the potency of it, of course. So one probably for coming up with branded messaging, and then secondly, how to build a landing page. I'll put those into two different, and with the landing page, I'll also include the points that builds the email nurture sequence. And the thank you page, because those are, you build a landing page and they click yes, but then what happens, right? You still got a whole bunch of work you got to do in order to get them nurtured into a buying position. So yeah, I'll put that all together and share that with Darby and the community, because I think that is really, if you could do nothing else but go from the buyer's blueprint to a fully clear messaged with some branded messages in it, landing page, lead magnet and email nurture sequence, you've got a huge start on whatever you're pursuing. So a couple of worksheets and Darby's brief, I think we can do that.
And I really appreciate that, Bruce. And I know those in the community will as well. As we get access to these resources for growing our own businesses. There's that in itself is a done for you offer that you could present as part of your coaching or consulting practice, and helping businesses integrate this, because we tend to be a little bit more into the weeds of things, because we're hands-on building out these crazy recipes, doing all that stuff. Most regular business owners don't have the time in the day to get their hands dirty on all of the things that we're doing, much less what happens next week that you need to keep up to date with in the world of AI. Things are constantly changing, and so being the agent of helping businesses integrate AI as part of the change in their adoption of it inside of their organization is an ongoing thing that we're continuing to learn more and more of inside of the community as well. And not really a closed answer for you, Charles, in terms of the brief and the recipe here, but a lot of what we've been working on the last few months has been how do we systematize the market sauce process even more so in the back, so that we can deliver that without it necessarily always requiring you to go and copy and paste all of your prompts in it. And so we are opening up not opportunities, we're opening up conversations right now with different members of the community and agencies and partners that we're exploring how to apply the buyer's brief within their own businesses and their own strategies. And if you're interested in discussing how the more automated version of this could work for you and your business and your clients, then just reach out to me directly and let's open up a conversation about it. Because again, started writing this book about 3-4 months ago, and we're releasing the first version of it out this week to the community. And as you know, we're always iterating and innovating on our workflows and our process and getting feedback back. So guys, keep an eye out for that manuscript that's going to be available later this week. We did end up pushing back the Amazon launch date just because of some stuff with the formatting and just launch. We wanted to dial in a little bit more before putting it up on Amazon for launch. But at the end of the day, what you guys saw Bruce share with his buyer's brief at the beginning of this interview, we generated last week on our mastermind call with the Creator Plus community, which you may have already seen if you've watched this. I know several of you were on that call live with us. You may have seen the recording. We generated that whole brief inside of an hour-long time frame, which now you can see, take brief, go do something with it. And Bruce has done that, and he's in the process of building out campaigns with the branded messaging. So I think, Bruce, this is a great example of what's possible with a buyer's brief and what to do when you get overwhelmed, because more than likely, all this content isn't necessarily going to just solve all your problems, but it's the focused direct application of it, taking action with that content, that is going to help us with pushing the needle forward. So I do appreciate you, Bruce. And any last questions or comments here before we wrap up today, guys? Again, appreciate you all joining us here live today, and excited for the next few weeks. We're going to be stacking more interviews like this and presentations with different members of the community over the coming weeks and months. So again, if you are interested in presenting something that you are doing inside of your business, much like Bruce says here, what's a direct application and way that you are actively utilizing AI and inside of your content production, your workflows, reach out, let me know. We'll talk about setting up potentially a time to do an interview like this or something in some way, shape, or form. But otherwise, don't see any more comments right now. And so until next time, guys, it's been great to see you guys here. Bruce, thank you once again for your demonstration. And guys, keep an eye out for the replay and the recordings of this inside of the Buyer's Brief book. Since thank you, Bruce, for being, willing to include that as part of some of the bonus resources in this book. And when we are ready to launch on Amazon, I'll be sure to let everybody know. So you guys can go ahead and help us with the bestseller push. But I do want, bestseller on Amazon to me is like not really like top priority. I'm not really concerned about hitting a bestseller category. I'm more concerned about getting you guys the book and the recipe and the examples to help you with getting it in so that you can take that quantum leap forward, understanding your buyers, and then going on to the next things inside of your business. So appreciate you all. Keep calm and AI on. See you on the other side.